a lot of the points just had no basis within law. They were quoting things like, well, you continue to shoot. Yes. Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. It's been a while. Thank you very much for sticking with me, sticking with the channel, and I really hope the very long wait is worth it for you. I spent quite a lot of time thinking about what the first full video was going to be, and after seeing all of the comments, all of the emails, all of the messages with the various questions, I thought let's just knock a few of those on the head and tell you what's been going on over the past 12 months. And whilst yes, there have been significant legal battles, there has been a huge amount of positivity, and I'm more than happy to say that the past year has probably been one of the best of my life, with so many huge moments and bucket list visits that I've managed to tick off. Now, of course, the biggest moment of the past, well, let's say 14 months, not necessarily year, was the birth of my son Arlo, future multiple IPSC world champion in waiting. Doesn't he have his mother's eyes? I had always planned to take a little bit of a break, or certainly step back a little bit, to enjoy and really savour those first few months, which everyone kept telling me you're never going to get back. It goes by in a flash. And now looking at our 14-month-old bordering on becoming a toddler, yes, it really does just go in the blink of an eye. There are other reasons why I ended up taking a much longer break than I had intended, which I will get onto later on in the video. One of the biggest positives was that back at the end of last year, we finally launched the Magload AR22 magazine. Yes, it wasn't an illusion, it existed all along, and we finally got to the position where we could launch it. And anybody that had been following the channel in the 2 to 3 years that we had spent developing it will know how much of a struggle it was, and how it most definitely almost broke Connors and I. The reception has just been absolutely fantastic. So if anybody has purchased one of those magazines and is using it, thank you. It's what we spent so long working towards. Now, I'm not going to turn this video into a massive sales pitch, but the magazines are something that we're incredibly proud of, and we do need to keep the lights on. So please do go and check out magload.co.uk. A massive bucket list moment for me over the past 12 months was visiting SHOT Show, and needless to say, it was an absolutely incredible experience. It's everything it's made up to be, and quite frankly, it makes every other show look tiny. We ended up doing, I think it was over 135,000 steps for the week. The amount of stands, exhibits, the size of the halls, the scale can only be described as American. It is just like nothing else, and the atmosphere there, of course, being in Vegas, just all adds to it. Now, it was an incredibly hard justification to our partners. Yes, we're going to go out to Vegas and it's for business. We didn't drink anything. We didn't have any cigars. We definitely didn't gamble at all. Definitely not. Didn't happen. There is no evidence whatsoever. Being in Vegas, you are of course gonna go out there and see what the city has to offer, and it was Connor's first time going out to Vegas, so we had to do, I think, a few of the essentials in between, making sure we covered every single stand. And somehow, I think through sheer determination, some napkin planning, and a bit of luck, we did manage to walk down every aisle, past every single stand. Without doubt, we will be going back again. On the subject of bucket list items, there was another one that was ticked off more recently in May, which was the IPSC mini rifle and PCC world shoot. The first world shoot that I had attended as a competitor, also that Connors had attended as a competitor. It was also the first world shoot that Magload sponsored. As well as competing, we were there in the vendor area as Magload, as sponsors. In terms of my own performance, I think piss poor would be the best description of it. I've got a list as long as my arm of excuses, and I am going to go into them. There's no way I'm not going to use them. Of course, with my issues with FACs and not being able to train, not being able to practice. The other aspect was that I ended up getting the gun configuration completely wrong. I thought overall the general best setup would be a short, lightweight rifle with a single dot. Now the single dot I still stand behind, but the short stock really hindered me. And being there as a sponsor, being there running the stand really took its toll on myself and also Connors. We drove out there in a van. It was about 18 hours of driving alone, getting out there. We were already quite tired when we arrived there, and we both shot the pre-match, so we didn't have a huge amount of time to really rest and get fully prepared. Even after doing that mammoth drive, we were setting up the stand, we were running the stand, so we were fatigued no end. In terms of the business, in terms of Magload, it was phenomenal. We really couldn't have wished for it to go better. So whilst our personal shooting experiences weren't what we expected, what we had hoped for the business, which like ultimately was the most important thing, absolutely no complaints. Most likely the update that you've all been watching this video for, you may have seen that I have got my firearm and shotgun certificates back after 9 years of battling. And whilst there has been a huge amount that has happened over the previous 9 years, and I've said many times that what I've talked about was really the tip of the iceberg, the level of ridiculousness that has happened over the last 12 months has just reached far higher heights than I ever thought possible. And just everything seemed to gear up. Just everything sort of came out of the woodworks, and it felt like we were fighting things left, right, and center continuously. Before I get into it, I really do need to give the biggest thank you. I mean, words are never really going to do justice to the level of thanks that I have to Connors. Without a doubt, if Connors had not been a part of it, if Connors had not had my back, and a great personal expense to him and cost to the business kept me in the fight, there's no way I'd be sat here today with certificates. So I don't know, Bud, if you're going to be watching this long into an English shooting video, but if you are, thank you. Again, words just cannot describe. So what happened over the past 12 months? Whilst I intended to have a break after the birth of Arlo, that break did get extended because in May last year, after waiting over 3.5 years for a decision on my firearm and shotgun certificate application, the then newly appointed head of Hampshire Firearms came to a decision, and that decision was to refuse. What was interesting, it was 16 different points that they justified the refusal. Now, Laura Salisbury and Nick Doherty are our solicitor and barrister dream team, who have been there, done it, seen it all, had never seen that many points used on a refusal. Usually it's 2, 3, maybe 4. And they straight away said 16 points. They are really just trying to throw mud at the walls and see what sticks. And it really did feel like that. Unfortunately for the department, we were ready and waiting and prepared for a refusal, and after a little bit of back and forth with the insurance company or companies, once they realised the scope of what their cover was going to pay out for, we managed to get the insurance to cover the appeal. The appeal was then triggered, and then it started the legal proceedings. A lot of the points just had no basis within law. They were quoting things like, well, you continue to shoot. Why is continuing to shoot looked upon as negative when to reapply for a firearm certificate you need to be a full member of a Home Office approved club and demonstrate that you are safe and proficient with firearms? Please tell me how that is going to be achieved when I'm not shooting. Massive discussions around RFDs and testing within competition, and that they still disagreed and felt it was unlawful, even though 18-month-long criminal investigation that didn't even make it to the CPS because there was no basis in law. So they were really just sort of twisting the guidance, twisting the law, and really just creating guidance and law to suit them. The remainder of the points were never substantiated. A lot of accusations, a lot of he said, she said, a lot of complaints and reports that when our evidence bundles were exchanged, there was no evidence supporting those points. It was almost like things had been created out of thin air, or the police hadn't then done the due diligence to corroborate the accusations that had been made. So their, I think it was 80, 90 page evidence bundle looked quite small and started to shrink significantly compared to our 190 page evidence bundle, pointing out all of the contradictions, all of the elements of law that they were almost demonstrating they had no understanding of, and putting forward the best case for me personally and professionally. Around the time of the refusal, we also had the renewal of the RFD, and whilst the majority of the meeting went very, very well, and we actually at certain points felt we were finally getting on with them, we were finally building the relationship we felt an RFD certificate holder should have with their firearms licensing department, they ended up putting a new condition on the RFD, and it was either accept this new condition or we will not renew the RFD. And that condition stipulated that somebody that had had certificates refused or revoked and hadn't obtained them back could not be a servant of the RFD. Now I wonder who that would affect the most within the business. But of course, it wasn't personal. It obviously was not specifically to kick me out of the RFD and jeopardize my livelihood, my business and way of life. Not at all. This being a result of the numerous complaints, the numerous emails and messages that we have that were sent to the police by people within our own industry, by people within our own sport, purely because they didn't like the fact I was shooting, purely because they didn't like the fact that I was growing a business legitimately, safely, lawfully. A shining example of why we should be working together, not against each other, is that this condition is now going to be applied to every RFD within Hampshire. Most likely every RFD across the country, given enough time. Whilst on the face of it, it does sound very logical. If you've had certificates taken away, if you've had certificates refused on your application, that may give an indication that you're not a fit and suitable person to be on an RFD. Apart from the fact that within the guidance and within the law, it is ultimately the RFD's decision of who they can appoint as a servant. It doesn't take into account the myriad of benign reasons that people can lose certificates, that they can have certificates refused. Some people apply for a firearm certificate without being a member of a Home Office approved club and get it refused. They forget to update their address. I don't know, if you live in Devon and Cornwall, there can be many benign reasons of why the police will turn up at the door and take your firearms. And this blanket condition is not what the guidance and not what the law intended. When firearms licensing departments are taking up to 2 years to process applications, when this new stipulation comes in, people won't be able to correct the wrongs as quickly as they should. They won't be able to go, okay, I need to get my certificates back. They're going to be out of a job. They're going to be out of work. So I hope you're happy with yourself. Give yourselves a tap on the back, because it's just done absolute wonders for the sport once again. Ultimately, our case was so strong, a few days before the court date, they ended up reaching out to drop the appeal. So we came to an agreement that I would be re-invited to apply for my certificates, that we would ultimately, when received, would drop both appeals for the RFD and also obviously for the refusal. And another firearm certificate application, another FEO interview, and around 3 months the certificates finally land. There were multiple people involved in reaching that outcome, which ultimately was the main priority: getting my certificates back, being able to finally move forward from this. Of course, Laura Sainsbury and Nick Doherty, I will put their details in the description below. Arguably the foremost firearm specialist, solicitor and barrister. They've probably forgotten more about firearms law than I or many of you will ever know. They really are the dream team, and if you are having any issues yourself, if you need any advice at all when it comes to firearms law, to me they are second to none. A massive thank you to Adrian Whiting as well. I've talked about him before on the channel. He wrote a very detailed independent expert witness statement which blew a lot of their argument legally out of the water, and he didn't have to get involved. He didn't have to write that statement. He was paid for it, but he didn't have to. He could have ignored it, and he didn't, and it was a massive help. What was also a massive help with within the 190 pages of our evidence bundle, with the numerous witness statements from other RFDs, from other certificate holders, from other members within the community and within the sport. And to see that level of support, to have people that are willing to put their head above the parapet for us, for me, for the channel, was pretty humbling to see. No matter how many times people go, you shouldn't be in this sport, you shouldn't have certificates, whatever people want to throw to me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter compared to the orders of magnitude of people out there that are willing to put their necks on the line, to work hard, to support the right things. So I'm sure many of you will want to know exactly what slots I got on the certificates, what slots have already been filled on the certificates, and sort of where we're going from here. Well, this video is already too long. There's far too much detail to cover, and I'm going to save that for the next video. Exactly what slots I've got, what I've already filled, and what will be coming soon to the certificate. So make sure you tune in next time for the next video to find that out, and maybe we'll touch on a few other detailed points of the past 12 months. But thank you very much for watching. Thank you all for your support and help over the past 12 months, over the past 9 years. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button, make sure you are subscribed, and of course, once again, as always, I hope to see you soon.